Hey everyone, what is going on? And welcome back to another video. So we're in the Evolution Cup today. This is a meta guide. The Evolution Cup will begin tomorrow alongside the Master League, and we're going to have a Go Battle Day coming up. I believe it's the 10th. Someone let me know if I'm wrong. 10th or 11th? Something like that. Someone let me know what the exact day is, please, in the comments. But yeah, it's going to be a Go Battle Day, so we have 100 battles to do, 20 sets. And as I said, you could do it in the Evolution Cup, or you could do it in the Master League. Now, when the original Evolution Cup was around, I actually really enjoyed it. It was a really fun meta, at least in my opinion. Basically, you could use Pokemon that have evolved once, but can evolve again. So, second stage evolutions. For example, Pignite, right? Pignite evolves into Emboar, and it evolved from Tepig, so you can use a Pignite if you choose to. But either way, Pignite is not going to be talked about in this meta guide because it's really not a useful Pokemon, but maybe one of you will prove me wrong, right? But either way, let's go ahead and dive right into this guide and see what we got going on for us. For the S rank, we have Vigoroth. So, Vigoroth, of course, is good in every meta. Every specific limited meta, for the most part, right? We've seen it time and time again. It's even good in the Open Great League, but especially the limited metas, it has a huge role. Even before it got Rock Slide, it's even better now because of Rock Slide, but it was still good even with Bulldoze just because of how good Counter and Body Slam are. But it's even better this season, so Vigoroth is going to be ranked number 1. You're going to see it all the time. I wouldn't be surprised if you see triple anti-Vigoroth teams, because Vigoroth will be everywhere. Then we have Golbat, or the Shadow version of Golbat. Another really strong Pokemon with that wing attack. Poison Fang, really strong. Shadow Ball, of course, heavy hitting attacks. So Golbat definitely going to be used as well. Great Pokemon in this meta. We have Hakamo, a couple dragons. Hakamo, Dragonair, right? We have Octobax coming up as well. I don't think Octobax was eligible. It wasn't around during the original Evolution Cup, right? But either way, we have some dragons, really powerful stuff. Not really any fairy types that you're going to see. I mean, there's some. 1 or 2 that you might see, but for the most part, dragons are relatively safe in this meta. They're not going to be too common. Like, I mean, you do have the ice types that you have to worry about, but outside of that, I mean, for the most part, dragons are safe. You're not really going to see fairy types like Charm-Users or things like that. So yeah, Hakamo, Dragonair are going to be really strong. Dusclops. Now, Dusclops can actually be an XL Pokemon. I used mine that wasn't XL. If you don't really have a good IV one, if you have close to a perfect or something, or it doesn't even have to be perfect, but you could get it to 1500. Of course, you know, it's going to be better if it, is XL'd, right? But if you don't want to invest the candy or whatever, if you don't have the Stardust, you can use a non-XL one if you already have it built, or if you have the XL one, you could do that much better with it. But yeah, Dusclops, of course, going to be super, super thick, really strong Pokemon for sure. Zweilous, that's another dragon type. We kind of mentioned dragons. I forgot to mention Zweilous, but of course the Zweilous and the Dragonair are going to be really, really strong. If you want to use dragons that are not weak to Vigoroth, you could skip out on Octobax and Zweilous. You could use like the Hakamo and the Dragonair because those ones are not going to be weak to the counter damage from Vigoroth. Then we have Primeape. So Primeape actually was not eligible in the original Evolution Cup because Annihilape was not out. But because Annihilape is out, Primeape should be eligible for this meta. Now, of course, it is possible Niantic messes up and they don't include Primeape. That could happen, but we're assuming that Primeape's going to be eligible, right? And of course, it has pretty much the same moveset as Annihilape, but doesn't have that Shadow Ball, but it has the counter, it has the Night Slash, it has the Ice Punch, it has Close Combat. I think it also has Crush Chop. It's a really good Pokemon. It's really frail, but it's really good as well. So really strong counter use if you're looking for one to really beat up that Vigoroth. Primeape is a good way to go. Moving on to the A rank, Charjabug. Of course, Charjabug is a strong pick in this meta, and most metas that it is going to be eligible in. Of course, we see it in the Open Great League. We see it in the Play Pokemon series as well. Charjabug is just really, really strong ever since it got that Volt switch. And then we have the Octobax, as we mentioned. Haunter or Shadow Haunter. I guess you could use the Shadow variant. I don't think the Shadow one was around during the original, so that's going to be pretty interesting. But it is a Poison type in addition to a Ghost type, so it's going to actually be triple resisting the counters coming from Vigoroth, and it also double resists the Body Slam. So it's going to be doing pretty good. You do have to watch out for Rock Slide, though, because if they charge up for Rock Slide, that will KO a Haunter, so you pretty much have to shield, because Haunter is really frail, but at the same time, it's really powerful. So if you can get to those, you probably want Ice Punch, Shadow Punch, just to get to the moves really fast. But you can also bait the Sludge Bomb as well, but really, really powerful Pokemon. Machamp, not pretty strong pick as well, I think. If you're looking for, like, I guess a Swampert wannabe. Of course, you can't use Swampert in this meta, so Machamp probably going to fill that role pretty nicely. Moving on to the B rank, we have Machoke. So Machoke, Primeape's going to be better than Machoke, I think, but Machoke does have a legacy move. I want to say it's Cross Chop. I've never used it. I think it's Cross Chop. But it also has, it doesn't have Counter. It has, what is that other fast move? Karate Chop, I think. So I've battled it a decent amount of times in the Evolution Cup. So I've seen double fighting teams with like the Vigoroth, with the Counter, and then the Machop. You'll probably see, if you do see that, you'll probably see double Counter teams this time with Vigoroth and Primeape over the Machoke. I think Primeape's just better. But Machoke does have some play. Probably not worth that lithium now. Just go with the Primeape, to be honest. Then we have Piloswine. A couple of strong ice types. Piloswine and Celio, I think, could be really good. Celio, of course, with that Body Slam spam. Piloswine hits like an absolute truck. Nidorino. Both of them are pretty good Pokemon. Do they have to be XL'd? They might actually have to be XL'd. I'm not positive on that, so don't quote me on that. But I battled them not too often because they were not really that common, I feel like. Maybe because they're expensive to build. I think they're expensive. But they are really good. Nidorino and Nidorina, I think, do have a decent amount of play in this Evolution Cup. You know, and I mean, at the end of the day, they are poison types, so they are resisting at counter damage from the Vigoroth. And from the Primeape, which I do think both will be really common, and they do get to the moves pretty fast. So yeah, pretty good Pokemon. Togetic, so that's one of the fairy types. I said you probably wouldn't see many fairies, which is true, but Togetic is one that you might see for sure. It has that fairy wind damage, it gets to the moves pretty fast, and I mean, at the end of the day, there's a decent amount that are weak to it, right? We have a bunch of dragons, we have Primeape, Machoke. I don't think Machoke's going to be that common because of Primeape, but yeah, decent amount to see. You do get to the moves pretty fast. I think Togetic actually has some pretty decent play in this meta, so we'll have to see. And then we have Magneton. Of course, Magneton could be a lot of fun. It did get Volt Switch. I didn't have it during the original Evolution Cup. It got it this season, I want to say. Or was it last season? I feel like it was this season. Either way, it doesn't matter. It has Volt Switch now. So it probably gives it a little bit more play. Metang with Metaclaw. Metaclaw needs a buff. I don't think we'll see this too often, to be honest. I don't think it's that useful. It does resist the Dragon Breath damage, so you do get that going for you. But other than that, I don't think it's going to be too common. Alolan Graveler, Staravia. Staravia could be a lot of fun as well. Wasn't Staravia buffed? It got Fly, didn't it? I think it got Fly. I know Staraptor did, so Staravia could be interesting. Fraxure, I can't speak. Fraxure, another dragon type, or another dragon Pokemon if you want to use this one. I do think we have better dragon options like the Hakama-O and the Dragonair, but another dragon, use a Dragon Tail, so it's okay. We might see it here or there, but again, I think we have better dragon options. And then we have, Crocolore. So Crocolore was not around during the original Evolution Cup last time, but it does have Incinerate. So I think this one could be pretty good. I mean, Incinerate was buffed this season. It does a lot of damage. It's going to be doing a lot. So yeah, I mean, Crocolore, not a bad Pokemon if you want to go ahead and give it a try. And then we have Dartrix. Could be pretty interesting. Galarian, Linoone, Fletchinder. Fletchinder also got Fly, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong about that, but I want to say it did. I think that and the Talonflame got the Fly, so I do think it got Fly. And then we have Gloom with the powerful Shadow Razor Leaf damage. So that's going to be the Evolution Cup for you. Moving on to the solid team options. So for the first team, I do have the Double Dragon team with Vigoroth in the lead. Now I picked these two dragons because Octobax is Wilius. They're both weak to counter, and I kind of didn't want two Pokemon that were weak to counter because Vigoroth, of course, is also weak to counter. So you would kind of have to watch out for the Primeape. But Vigoroth, safe swap into one Pokemon in the back. Lure out the possible Ice type. I guess Fairy type if you see it, but I don't really anticipate Fairies. Maybe you'll see a again, you might see Togetic here or there. It's not that bad. Togetic's pretty good. But other than that, you probably won't see many Pokemon. But you gotta lure out the Ice types. You could probably pick up a Shield with Hakama-O anyway, because you do get to the charge attacks fast. And then Vigoroth can come beat that Ice type up, and then you have Dragonair. So yeah, I mean, pretty strong team, I think. Double Dragon. We might actually see Triple Dragon, although Triple Dragon is not really that safe, I don't think, because if you run into one Ice type, you're kind of going to be in trouble, but we'll see. Next up, we do have the Double Counter team. I did mention it a little bit earlier. I think Double Counter with the Vigoroth and Primeape probably going to be really strong, and then we have Golbat, so yeah, I mean, safe swap. honestly, either of them. I'd probably safe swap the Vigoroth. I feel like that's safer. But both of the Pokemon in the back, not too bad. And then, of course, Golbat is going to be really powerful. I'd go with the Shadow version of it, but the regular one is not too bad either. Next up, we have Double Ghost. So, of course, the Dragon in the lead. The Dragon's Wily is going to be weak to that Vigoroth, but the back line is going to heavily resist the counter damage, as well as Body Slam. Like, double resist it, triple resist the counter if you are the Haunter. So, really strong Pokemon. Again, the Dusclops can be excelled if you want to go that route, if you have a really good IV one. It's not a bad way to go, but I feel like you don't need it. But Double Ghost, I have battled Double Ghost in the past. I don't remember what the exact team was, but pretty strong if you want to just kind of ignore Primeape and Vigoroth in a way, because you want to heavily resist the counter damage, right? And I do think those two will be strong. You could go with another Dragon if you don't want to be weak to counter in the lead. But moving on, we do have another team. We have Vigoroth Double Poison, so Nidorino. Again, as I mentioned, both of these Pokemon are strong. I was looking at the moveset. I think both of them have Poison Sting. I know they were really strong. Forgive me. I mean, you could double check on PvPoke. Shout out to PvPoke, of course. But yeah, I think Poison Sting, I mean, they charge up really fast, right? One of them has Horn Attack, which is not a great move, but I think one of them has Thunderbolt. Again, you could research the moves, but they do get to the moves pretty fast. They're relatively bulky, I think. And yeah, I mean, just really strong Pokemon. And then we have Double Ice as the next team. I feel like a lot of ABB teams are going to be strong in this meta. So Poliwhirl and Celio, of course, both of them are going to be weak to that Vigoroth, weak to that Primeape. I do have Primeape in the lead, so if you do lure out the possible Vigoroth, then you could have Primeape for that. But if there's a Primeape in the back, could be a little bit difficult. You could go a different lead if you want to lead something that is going to be resisting counter. For example, Golbat. That could be a good way to go because Golbat will do well against the Primeape, right? But yeah, I mean, essentially just lure it out. The thing about Primeape is it is really glassy, so you could still get to a move with one of your Pokemon in the back and like either do a lot of damage or threaten a shield. Next up, we have another team. It's going to be Octobax, and Octobax is weak to counter, and then both of the Pokemon in the back do resist counter. Dusclops double resisting that. You could go Haunter if you want over the Dusclops. But anyway, this is going to be the Evolution Cup. Let me know what team you plan on running in the comments down below, and I will see you in the next one. Have a good day. Bye.